as the Wisconsin Assembly worked to advance the bill. Earlier today, pro-union protesters continually disrupted their efforts. Authorities were forced to carry dozens of protesters out of the building and for a brief period of time even had the Capitol on lockdown. Now, last night, Republican lawmakers separated the portion of Governor Walker's bill that deals with collective bargaining and passed it on its own, a measure which allowed the bill to move forward today. Now, the GOP did all of this without the 14 missing Democratic state senators. And joining me now with reaction to all of the latest developments is Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker. Governor, I guess in one phrase, it wasn't easy, but a win for you.
Well, it was, and it ultimately goes for the middle-class taxpayers here in the state of Wisconsin who benefit, because this budget reform bill protects middle-class jobs, and equally, if not of greater importance, it protects middle-class taxpayers, because in all these other states where they're cutting, they're forcing massive layoffs or massive property tax increases. In our state, we're doing something better than that. We put through true reform that'll make for better government and ultimately a better deal for our taxpayers.
You know, as I was looking at all that was happening, I want to get your reaction to some of the video and some of the shenanigans. This has now gone on for weeks here. Wisconsin police now dragging protesters away. You're being portrayed as, and Republicans haven't been portrayed as using the nuclear option. What did you make of all of this mayhem going on and that continues to go on, and Michael Moore and Jesse Jackson say will continue to go on?
Well, I traveled the state today and I got asked that question about the process that was used yesterday and again today. And I said the irony is people should be upset at the dirty tricks being done by those 14 Senate Democrats. Because the fact of the matter is now for 3 weeks they have abandoned their job. They abandoned the people they represent here in the state of Wisconsin in those 14 legislative districts. And they've really decided that somehow the minority can rule on this. What we showed is we could move this bill forward. We reached out to some of the reasonable ones for the past 2 weeks. Their leader, Senator Mark Miller, showed they have no interest in doing anything but shutting this bill down. Yeah. And thankfully, the legislature stood up to those sort of tactics, particularly tactics from out-of-state union bosses.
Now, the state majority leader, Scott Fitzgerald, actually said that the situation at the Capitol is unsafe. There were reports that many of the senators and others have been targeted for death threats, and they were even protesting, as I understand it, outside of your home. Can you bring us up to speed on that?
Well, there have been protests in the weeks since this bill was introduced almost a month ago, where they've come in front of my home in Wauwatosa. They've come in front of lawmakers' homes. In the end, though, you know, this is not how we do things in Wisconsin. We have plenty of passion about debates, and that's good and that's decent. That's what America is all about. But people should not be coming into the state trying to intimidate lawmakers, offer up threats or anything else. That's just not the way it's done, at least in the Midwest. And thankfully, again, our lawmakers stood up to those sort of thuggery attacks, and we're not going to allow that here in the state of Wisconsin. We can have good civil debate. The people who work for state and local government have been decent, and I respect them throughout this process. But the people coming in from other states that bring in these sorts of taxes just don't belong here, and hopefully they'll move on to another state where they think those tactics might work, because they don't work in Wisconsin. State
Senator Carpenter actually said that this was the Pearl Harbor of workers' rights, a sneak attack in the middle of the night. Now, this all began on February 17th, and I went back and I did a little research, and our own Fox News was even reporting that Senate Democrats had acknowledged at the time that you could pass any item that doesn't spend state money in their absence. So in terms of the legality of all this was always available to you. Why did you wait 3 weeks?
In fact, ironically, the person that ran against me for governor, Mayor Tom Barrett, the mayor of Milwaukee, suggested doing this just the other day on one of our local in-state radio programs. The irony is we waited to allow the process to work its way through. We tried to work to find a reasonable path to bring those Senate Democrats back. They said they wanted more time. We gave them time. They said they wanted us to reach out. We reached out. In the end, they weren't ever interested in coming back, or at least their leader was not interested in allowing them to come back, or at least the unions that lead them weren't interested in bringing them back. And we said enough is enough. Our people in this state want us to move forward. They want us to show that Wisconsin's open for business. They want us to get back to the business of helping the private sector create jobs, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We got good news the other day. 10,000 new private sector jobs in the first month of the year, dropped down to 7.4% unemployment rate, but we've got to do more to help the private sector put people to work, and this is the first step in taking us forward. Governor